But that we're getting those things.
First weekend, you good?
I'm gonna eat.
It's not like, is that hour the way it's supposed to be? I feasted burgers, it's supposed to be, and then I realized that I ate bread. So I apologize if I say.
Yeah, as soon as you made some noise.
Check, check. Oh, so the camera's on the top. I always thought it was two eyes. That's the camera. It's top.
That's either, yeah, the camera.
The eyes are usually pointed this way. That's where. Yeah.
Oh.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm talking, this is the vibe. Fantastic. All right, let's call this meeting to order at 7:04 PM. We're gonna start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Sunshine Law notice. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this regular council meeting of November 12th, 2024 is available by call-in phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for questions or comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question or comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was included in a schedule of meetings, which was adopted by resolution number 2024-13 and sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times on January 4th, 2024, posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board of the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Borough Clerk is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meeting. Christie, may I please have a roll call?
Council members Cole,
Here.
DiMichelli,
Here.
Howie, Hot,
Here.
La Barbera,
Present.
Olson.
Here. Great. Before we jump into public comment, I just want to publicly thank Mr. Gletcher and Mr. Forsora for putting themselves out there and running for council. Anyone that is willing to volunteer their time to this borough, should be applauded and appreciated by all of our residents. I want to say thank you, and I also would like to congratulate Borough Council President Betsy Koch and Councilwoman Tracy Cole on their reelection to another 3 years serving the borough area.
Thank you.
Okay, we're jumping right into public comment on agenda items only. Please observe a 3-minute time limit. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Is there anyone in the public with a public comment on agenda items only? Yes.
Bonnie Trinity, so I can make a comment on the tree.
Yes.
That's okay. At the last shade tree commission, we left with a few things that I just wanted to make sure were acted on. One was this appendix A that Brian, you told me to take care of it. I couldn't get it on the website. I asked Chrissy, she said the lawyers had the list. So we wanted to remove these shrubs and small trees. So someone didn't put a shrub in. So just want to make sure, did you get that? Did you put together the exhibit A? The appendix A?
I think it's me.
Well, I don't know, the lawyers, that's what I.
We both lawyers, so.
Well,
I did compile exhibit A.
okay, so did you get the notice to take out shrubs and?
I did not.
Yeah, well, I just want to ask that is that it, I guess, the shade tree commission agreed that we, go through place of tree. That was found in oversight.
Shrubs are not in there. I'm looking at it right now.
I just looked at what was sent out to the,
Shade trees, small ornamental understory trees,
that's it,
evergreens.
small.
Small ornamental, so like crabapple, eastern red bud. Flowering dogwood.
On the next page is, rhododendron.
Hold on, we can't just all speak here, but so just.
Can I weigh in just for a second, am I allowed to?
Oh.
Well, my recommendation at the last meeting was to take off this altogether because the link is going to be the most updated, so I don't see why we have to have this if it's gonna be keeping amended.
So currently, right now, the link that the Shade Tree Commission has compiled does not have all of the requirements that the New Jersey DEP requires for the tree preservation ordinance, which is the second two columns in Exhibit A. The website only has the names of the species. So to be compliant with the DEP requirements, we need to have the planting season and the planting procedure recommendations for the actual species,
Okay.
which is why I created the list. In addition to the Shade Tree Commission's website.
I think the concern is that though if it's in writing, then it's, if any changes are made to the website, they're not gonna be current with what's listed in the ordinance.
Well, I just want to stop for one second, just from a procedural perspective right now. This is public agenda,
Okay.
public
Got it.
section, right, comment section, so let's let Bonnie speak. And then when it comes down to, talking about the ordinance itself, then.
Okay.
Then we can sway in, just so we're not wasting,
Okay, so I didn't even
we have time
realize
limits and we're just trying
who put
to.
the plan, so you did all the plantings and the plant procedure, you did all that. Where did you get that information?
The internet. And I looked at other municipalities that have very similar appendices in their ordinances
Very good source.
and compare.
Okay, well, we didn't, it's not attached, the shade tree has no control over that, so I just wanted to make that clear, because that's, you have it, right? Okay, so I couldn't do anything to it. I told Brian that I would take care of that.
Well, my recommendation would be to incorporate those additional columns into the website, so that we
Yes.
can eventually
Yes.
take out the appendices.
Okay. Okay,
If I just, do you mind if I make a point? I was under the impression these are recommended trees.
Yes.
they are.
Recommended, right?
The thing was that the additional two columns of, so these are the trees we recommended, and Christine just added the two requirements from the DEP, because that was not on
Right.
the shade tree, so we did.
But
we-
I'm just saying, ultimately though, someone can plant a tree that's not on this.
Right.
If you're talking about, these are recommended,
Well, this is another, because there's language that says that this is the recommended, and then this is the approved list. It's not consistent on appendix A. I think it's the approved list. I think this is what we want, native trees. I mean, why are we having it?
it's the recommended list. We discussed that like 3 meetings ago. So we made a change so that it was, dictated that it was a recommended list, and we could not dictate to our residents what type of tree they planted. Other than I do believe that there's something that says that it's 2 inches or
Right.
greater.
Well, then, if that's the case, if you don't want to give an approved, then I think we should have a do not plant and have a list of plants that are forbidden, like Norway maples or, invasive species, tree of heaven, things like that. So I think we should just add that.
That's the minimum requirement for the DEP is a not approved list.
Okay.
A not approved list.
Correct.
So we need to have that.
No, that would be the minimum requirement. The borough's gone beyond that by recommending trees. But
Okay,
the
we don't
minimum for
need that.
DEP is to have a list of things of trees that can.
So since we don't have that, we have this, and that's okay.
My
Yes.
second question is about the fees that we have. If I take out 4 36-inch trees, and I decide I don't want to plant any trees, I want to pay a fee. That's $8,000. can we charge somebody that?
Yeah.
We can. Okay, because I do remember there was something mentioned about the maximum. Are you absolutely positive about this?
We're positive in our research, yes.
Okay, so that's not an issue, okay.
So we can pay, sorry. Someone can pay $8,000.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna stretch.
There's no threshold.
Listen, in any ordinance out there you can sue, court, like a judge, a very famous judge in New Jersey once said, the courtroom doors are always open. And so it's a litigious state, I understand, but everything that we've reviewed, and we've reviewed other ordinances, local ordinances, we've reviewed the DEP laws as well. And that's what we came up with, that we were allowed to charge us.
So there's no maximum that is implemented, but I mean, any fee would be challengeable by a resident for being unreasonable or, something like that. It's the typical argument for the amount, but there's no limit.
It's an arbitrary and capricious argument that they,
Correct.
argue like full and unusual punishment, similar to that.
Okay,
Standard.
tree food or, sorry about that, yeah. So, and this, the street tree issue. Legally, the street trees are protected in our new document, is that,
The street trees are owned by the borough.
and so they cannot be cut down.
Well,
Unless
that's
the
not true.
borough files
The
an
borough would have to apply for the permit to cut.
The borough has plus, the borough would have to abide by the rules.
The only, I don't want to talk about a situation that we can't imagine right now, but the only conceivable situation about the trees that I think you're talking about, where we would look to cut down a tree like that is if it was, dying or, in some type of risky situation. Yeah.
Okay, and I just want to make just one last thing. Right now, our tree ordinance, we have, in some instances, we have considerations that if a tree is in a spot that has no other canopy, or it's going to affect stormwater, the code enforcement officer has some discretion, right? This new ordinance, there's no discretion, there's no appeal. So I just keep thinking about the Sunoco station and the fact that they're gonna take those two huge oak trees down. Based on what I remember from the planning board diagram, it's going all the way over to the neighbor's property. Even though when I called them, they said they're gonna save the trees, but I don't know how it's possible based on the plan. So I just wanna make sure that nobody here wants any sort of way to say, that's not really what we want. Because we will not have it. And I understand that you don't wanna do the appeal process anymore, but it is up to you to say, well, we do want the Shade Tree Commission to do that. That's, so that's,
The way I would answer you is, I saw the old tree ordinance and I saw the result of that at that gas station and what that tree looks like right now, and I don't like that result either. And the second part of that, what I would say is, I don't think necessarily over the last 4 meetings, you've heard that from anyone up here, even that supports the tree ordinance. I think what we've said is, we agree on the components of this tree ordinance right now. And then when this tree ordinance passes, we're gonna continue to look at ways to improve it. And that could include something that you're speaking of.
and by that.
We've been very consistent about that.
Okay.
I would just make one note as, in addition to what the mayor just said, that particular site is unique because it was part of a lawsuit with some larger issues that were outside
So there's not,
the municipality's control to a certain extent. Because I was watching those meetings closely. I too am concerned about those trees and others like them that serve as buffers, particularly between, say, mixed use and residential, which is the condition we would have there. And there, I even suggest and run it by a few other people, there might be a way to capture that situation so that we're not running into
I mean, that's,
commercial property owners taking down important buffer trees.
I mean, that's not really residents' property rights, that's kind of. The town.
Yes.
Anyway, I just leave that.
Anyone else with a public comment? Sure.
Please. The Steve Collard, 32 Fifth Street, and the police station is being put together right across the street. It's been nice. It's going really slow, but it's been nice. And my understanding is that the end of this street in front of the church is going to be widened. And it's gonna take out at least 3 big trees. And I just want to encourage you to make sure how you're gonna repair that, loss of trees. One of them looks in pretty bad shape. The other 2 don't look to be in such bad shape. So when the landscape, I don't know, that's private property of the church. Once that sidewalk goes in, if the trees are gonna be put in, they'll be on the front lawn of the church, and Pastor Greg didn't really know anything about it. So he's really interested in knowing, what's going, are we gonna try to accommodate some more shade, some more trees on Fisk Street? And then.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
It's 1 for 1. So whatever's being taken out is gonna be replaced. I'll look back at the plan to confirm that,
Okay,
but whatever was taken out, and I think there's 3, and I think 2 out of 3 are diseased, because I think we had Sherry look at it. Let me,
okay.
Is it already taken out?
no, not yet, no,
So
no.
then depending on the size of the tree, you might get more than 1 for 1, once the new ordinance.
Yeah, that's just a peach tree, that would also be replaced, from the perspective of the appearance.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
cut
I-
down
There's
3
a
and
landscape.
replace.
There's a whole landscape plan. We're adding additional trees that aren't even there, but I'm pretty sure the ones you referenced in the street trees.
Yeah,
Right, because since we're widening the street, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be fine. I'll take a note.
yeah, I'm
I'll
sure
look
you're,
back at it.
and is the landscaping plan ready yet to look at?
It is, we're gonna have a kickoff, I still have you and, Terry. Cause we wanted to talk about the shading. And then I use the word shading, that's not the right word.
Sort of screening.
Screening, thank you.
Parking lot.
Yeah, it's on the list, once they get to the site work component. We've already informed the entire team that we need to have a kickoff discussion to look at the landscaping, because it's been, what, a year and a half since we looked at it. Make sure the proper screening's there, make sure it's all there, we just had the sign off from the church for the parking lot that's gonna go there, so now we can finish the landscaping on the rest of the property, so
It look nice.
it's gonna be great, yeah.
Very nice.
I'll get it though, for you.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Anyone else, public comment, agenda items? Carol?
Carolyn Ferguson, 7 Colonial Court. I just had a question about, street trees on River Road. Those are owned by the council, right?
Mhm.
And this doesn't apply to them, right? They do what they want.
Which street trees are you referring to?
On River Road, that's a county road. They own the trees in the right of way.
So the county would have to apply if they own the trees to take the trees down.
Are they in the
Correct.
person?
Expect that would not
But-
happen.
I would.
Having lived on River Road and
Again, I suspect, I haven't seen that, in the years that I've been around, it's hard to comment on something, on the unknown. A project that might be taking place or some sort of issue where, a tree is dying. It's in the way of a new traffic, well, I don't know.
no, I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that was like considered in this. Like I said, having lived on River Road.
Yeah.
They would be the
having
owner-
had a tree, they
But I'm not sure they count as persons.
They are.
They are.
So shall mean any individual, resident, municipality, borough, corporation, utility, company, partnership, firm, association, or combination thereof. They are a municipality.
So.
They
The
are,
county is a
is
municipality.
a municipality? Okay.
School districts, easement, accountant service.
Does it count as, just to confirm, is the county a municipality? Because I don't,
No, but I mean, they still have to comply with our ordinance, even though it's probably more stringent than, the county's own, ordinance.
Okay.
But
thank you.
Carolyn,
Good
but
question.
if you recall, when they wanted to prune the trees, when the county came through and wanted to do like pruning,
They worked with us.
they reached out to communicate. I think it's in the county's DNA to communicate
Yes.
with the local municipalities, so, that conversation.
And we have a great relationship with Jonathan Beard from Public Works, who runs the engineering and public works department. So he would, normally in that circumstance, he would reach out and he would communicate any work they were gonna do here in town. So we would know way ahead of time.
Thank you.
Bill?
Bill Perkins, Chancellor Fairhaven. So, just getting back to the definition of person, so any person, don't mean any individual, resident, municipality, borough, corporation, utility, company, partnership, firm, association, combination of any person can remove a tree. A resident can never remove a tree. So a resident is a person, but so any person in this context is not a person in the context of this, because a resident can never remove a fallen tree.
Right.
So I'm just saying, I think that there needs to be clarity. I think this, along that issue, along with some other issues, need clarity. And it's it's currently not the shade trees document. It's the borough's document, therefore it needs to be clarified. Using the definitions in here, one can make the argument that a rhododendron could be considered a tree. Ergo, you're saying a tree is a rhododendron. You're saying in the definition that a rhododendron could be a tree, therefore I could make the argument that I could replace a tree with a shrub, what we're considering a shrub. I just think that there should be clarity. And corrections should be made.
Can I ask you a question? What type of rhododendron would have a 2.0 dBH? That would have to be a really big
Yes.
rhododendron.
Yes, but 2.5 inches is only this big. That could be a 25-year-old rhododendron. I could go to the nursery and get one. And according to the definition of what's a tree, it has a significant caliber with lateral branches, whatever the definition is here. So a rhododendron could fall into that category. As could a mountain laurel, as could these other things listed as others. So someone could make that argument. That. Does why? Does someone in the field think that they're a tree? No, that's why I'm saying they should be removed. It's just you're just looking for trouble. The same thing with this. Any person, it's not really any person. It's only the borough or utility company or, and it's not even any corporation. It has to be the borough or a utility company. I mean, I can't think of any corporation, partnership or whatever who's just gonna be allowed to remove a tree. I think Verizon can continue to remove a tree if they want to. I mean, don't they have to go through a process, right? I mean, I don't. think-
Depends which utility you're talking about.
Right,
Certain
but I'm
utilities
saying-
think they don't have to go through. a process.
Well, they might think that, that's what I'm saying, but legally, I don't think certain utilities, and certain corporations or companies or partnerships have the same legal standing as does PSEG, whatever. That's it.
Thank you, Bill.
Well,
Anyone else?
Mark Rothenberg, 19 Downey Lane. I'd just like some clarity on 2 points. I'm not sure how to reference it, but with the number 4, where it is right at the front. It says the penalties to adopt and enforce. And it seemed curious that the permittees would be responsible for it.
Mark, can you cite the section
I
again?
think it's whereas.
Right.
14.
Whereas.
Oh, the fourth whereas.
The two.
Oh, and then the side
Got it.
ability to adopt and enforce.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes. I think the fourth is this one. On the front page.
Is that what we intend?
I mean.
We
it's-
are,
it's
the
a-
borough's the permittee. And that's what you did, for the MS4 permit renewal process, that the borough.
Permittee is not the individual.
No, that has
who's
nothing,
being
no,
granted?
that has to do with the that's the MS4 stormwater permit. The permittee is what the borough, the reason the borough is doing, again, the borough has to have the ordinance to comply with the MS4 stormwater
That's
permit.
fine.
So that's the borough's the permittee on that resolution ordinance.
We're not controlling.
The
Just so it makes sense,
Sure,
that
sure.
MS4 is permission to discharge stormwater into the river.
Yeah.
And we have to get our water cleaner, and we have to capture as much as we can, and the DEP knows a good way to do that is to put more trees on the ground, which is the reason we're here on this topic.
The second question I have is there's a section entitled replacement alternatives.
Do you have a number?
I can have a look.
Say what it is again, Mark.
Replacement alternatives. For
8.7 number F.
Well, I think it says, if I read it correctly, the applicant decides the trees cannot be planted.
I'll read what it says, just for clarity for the record. So we're referring to 14-8.7 tree replacement requirements, and under that, we're talking about section F, which is replacement alternatives. And what it says, if the applicant determines that some or all required replacement trees cannot be planted on the property where the tree removal activity occurred, then the applicant shall pay the tree replacement fee based on the tree replacement requirement in table A referenced above. This fee shall be placed into the Fairhaven Shade Tree Trust Reserve Fund dedicated to planting new trees and maintaining the borough's existing trees.
So to be clear, we've given either the homeowner in this case, or the developer in some case, the ability to decide that the trees cannot be planted. And for the amount of money that we've indicated, they can just pony it up and say, okay, I'm done. That's exactly what we want, yes?
Yes.
So we let the builder decide.
Well, I'm not speaking for everyone, but if you're, to answer your question, that's what the ordinance says.
I understand.
Right.
So essentially, we've let the builders, homeowner, I'm gonna use the builders as an example, who, for the amount of money they're asking, I would suggest, and I don't say this lightly, is a de minimis amount based on the cost of the new homes in this town. We let the builder decide, well, I can't plant those trees, boom, they're gone.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we want, is that,
Well,
I guess.
it's not what everyone wants.
I'm sorry, say again.
It's not what everyone wants. I think we've established that based on the debate up here. To answer your question, it's not perfect. No tree ordinance we ever have will be. In the scenario in which you're bringing up, in my opinion, if they take down 4 trees and it costs them $8,000, I have a feeling that new homeowner is gonna come in and plant their own trees anyway. So we're gonna get the benefit of $8,000 and we're gonna get well, you can shake your head, but that's my opinion.
Well, no,
Everyone has their own
I
opinion.
appreciate your opinion.
Right?
That was really not exactly what I was looking for.
Okay,
What I wanted to make sure is that with this perfect clarity, that basically we've given the right to. Again, I'm only using developers, it certainly could be a homeowner.
Right.
We've given the right to developers to essentially clear cut, should they decide.
well,
That it's more economic for them, they will make more money if they can clear cut and then build a home.
so the one other point I wanna make on the point, because I've answered once that there's differing opinions up here. Yes, the ordinance lists that, but I wanna make sure I specify legally. I've been told we cannot decipher between the way that developers and residents apply the laws that we create here. We can't make a separate ordinance for developers that's different than we do for residents.
I don't even think that
So-
matters. That wasn't even my point. My point was that we give individuals. And in this case, I'll say. Government, corporations,
Right.
the ability to decide. That they're just gonna knock down trees. And I'm wondering what the criteria is to say, wait a minute, not so fast. And apparently what we're about to vote on is, there's no criteria. If somebody decides they can pony up $10,000, $8,000, or $20,000, then in fact, they have the right to blow away the trees. I didn't think that was the spirit of what we were doing.
Well, that's how
This ordinance.
you're framing the ordinance. There's a whole nother side of the ordinance that really encourages a lot of planting of new trees to maximize the canopy all around town. You're just focusing on one very singular anecdotal situation based on a developer coming in and knocking down trees. And the way that I would also answer that is, we just had a situation on, I don't know if it was Granger Hance, where a house got knocked down and the developer on their own knocked down trees without the permission of the borough. And if had this new ordinance been in place, not only will we be able to seek, the requirements of them to replace, but we'd also be able to hit them with the penalty fee schedule.
Yeah, that really was my point.
Mark, as of one of the council people who will be voting on this, I will just give you a response, so you can at least hear from as many of us as you care to, but I personally am not in favor of leaving the applicant the right to decide. I think that's inconsistent with the spirit. We'll just leave it at that. I think it is okay to offer a fee in the form of relief if an applicant cannot accommodate a tree on their site. I don't think that should be extended for clear cutting. I don't think that should be extended for removal of buffers, and street trees have been cleared up now, but that's my personal view on a process that is about managing trees, not just on personal property, but also commercial property. So, and public property as well. I don't think it should be up to the applicant.
So So,
That's just what's on paper.
so I'll just leave it, I'll use your language. If a homeowner decides they can't accommodate, that
Mhm.
seems to be a pretty soft way to approach. I don't think I like that tree because that's exactly where I'm going to be sunbathing in the afternoon. And I can tell you that that tree is going to cast some light on my body. Not so cool. So I'll take it down. I'll pay the $1,000. We'll call it a day.
Yeah,
So I would just like,
go ahead.
so I would just like to say, and I'll conclude it, that that doesn't seem to be the spirit of a tree ordinance, which is protect the trees in town. I understand that there's some accommodation with, that everybody's referenced in this. But in terms of either a homeowner or a builder, the ability to just pay a certain amount of money to clear cut it, though, that's gonna be a great investment for a builder, because the amount will be de minimis compared to the amount that homes go for in this town. And I'll leave it,
Can
but
I-
everybody's gotta vote, everyone's gonna deal with their own conscience as to whether or not we've satisfied the needs of the community in terms of the look and feel of the quality of our town.
Can I say my thought? So I disagree with the premise. I appreciate the comments.
Which premise was that?
That the government gives people a right to do what they want with their property. I think people have a right to do with what they want with their property. It's not something that the government gives them. So this is getting to property rights.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't think that's what I said. What I said was that we're giving both individuals and builders the ability to pay money to take down trees. It's really quite as simple as that, with no interference on the part of the municipality.
Well, you seem to be implying that instead of letting them pay money, that we could require them to plant a tree on their property. And I don't think the government can tell people what to do with their property.
That's
So I have a
what-
question
that's
though,
what land use law
are we gonna
is.
go back and look at some other ordinances where we tell people how much they can build on their property and how close they can build to other
So we
people's
look at,
property?
we look at them all the time,
I
but we're
mean-
still in public comment.
Yeah,
So why don't
thank
we,
you, Mayor.
why don't you jump from public comment and we'll come back.
No, no, and that's what
No,
I'm
Mayor,
saying.
that's not what I'm saying.
No, but Mayor, you're 100% correct, and, you know, I don't say censured, but I, you know, stopped Ms. DiMaselli from speaking, and, we have to get back to, you know, Robert's rules here.
Yes.
We have public comment, it's 3-minute time limits. The time for this conversation is, and this is for the public's, you know, knowledge, is at the hearing. The public hearing on the ordinance, and then it's unlimited, we can speak.
But what
for the
happens
next
if all
6,
those
7
comments
hours.
were brought up and not addressed? That's what keeps happening. All these comments were brought up.
So again, the members of, we're still in public comment, so
I know,
I don't
so-
really think it's the appropriate time to have a conversation, but just because there's comments made by residents or by members of the governing body, doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be applied to an ordinance. I don't want to sound like a broken record on it, but I feel like I am. We appreciate the comments, and what I would say, which I've been consistent on for now it's 5 straight meetings, is we're going to learn from this ordinance. And if we find out, Mark, that, you know, 3 months in, oh my God, the builders were just waiting for us to pass this ordinance and now they're just clear cutting lots and, you know, they feel like they're at Disneyland, then we're gonna adjust it. And we're gonna, whether that means making more stringent, whether it means putting more protection in, I can't tell you what that is because this process has taken longer than I would have hoped. I would have hoped we would have passed it by now and already been into the conversations of how to improve it.
I'm gonna say something even though, but he just talked. So if the overriding thought is that we're not allowed, the government doesn't decide what people do on their property though, how would any of these concerns then change? Like, how would we then address them and change? Like the concerns we have, that's never gonna fall into the framework of not telling people what to do on their properties. To have any protections, and the protections are to protect people's the property owners next to the people who are taking down these trees. So the unintended consequences of the neighboring, I'm worried about all the property rights, not just the property.
I think we're.
I'd also like to address something that Councilman Wilson said, which is, I lived in not the house I lived in now, the house I lived in before, my neighbor did some, groundwork, which resulted in my property being flooded, and it was quite clear. And I tried to to address that with the homeowner was not successful, but in fact, the town interceded and I prevailed in getting him to change the way that he was discharging water onto my property. So your comment, which I don't think exactly was what I was speaking about, your comment that the government or the municipality cannot intercede when somebody does something on their property which affects either the town or their adjacent neighbors, is not exactly, I don't believe, is not exactly how we want to run the government, or we want to run our neighborhood. So you can't just do anything.
We know
Yeah,
that. We do
everyone
know.
knows that,
Well,
but I also,
understand.
you're bringing up,
Saying we know.
yeah, but you're also bringing something anecdotal that we don't know the fact, that we don't know the facts on.
It's not exactly. the case.
Yeah.
We have stormwater.
So
Yeah, but
the whole
Thank you, Mark.
planning system is about
sorry?
jurisdiction for how we develop and allow property owners to develop land is the jurisdiction of this council. And with all due respect to Mr. Olson, that is the function of local government. Check. Local health,
There's a-
safety and welfare.
There's 125 years of case law and briefings and arguings about land use laws, and trees are sort of new. And I don't think it's fair to give trees the benefit of controlling property when they have not gone through the burden of 125 years of case law.
But if,
Perhaps,
but if,
so
but if it's
let's-
negatively
let's,
affecting someone's
Let's
property.
table this
That
conversation.
and the DEP.
So when we get to the adoption of the ordinance, is there anyone else with a public comment on agenda items only? Christie, anyone online?
If you do, please use the raise hand feature if you have public comment on agenda items. There are none.
Okay, thank you. Moving along to approval of minutes. We're talking October 28th, special meeting, October 28th, regular meeting, October 28th, executive session. Did you want to change something?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes, to reflect more accurately what my concerns were about the tree ordinance, instead of just summed as soil erosion. I'd like to have the list that I said, my prepared statement as it was noted. You want me to tell you what those are? Should I email them?
But do you want us,
I'll say what they are, okay.
or a second perhaps, so that there's, do you want?
Okay, do I need a second? I don't know. That's fine.
I don't have any problem with
Yes.
adding
We need a
the information.
second first,
Well, I'll
and then there
second.
could be a
That's
discussion.
for the discussion.
Okay. So the things that I would like to be, I would like my list to be added in. So what I said was the builders are overcutting, clear cutting. Lack of protection of heritage or specimen trees, large or old trees that are healthy, effects on stormwater management and soil erosion. Aesthetics for neighboring properties, effect of decreased shade covering, effects of overall look and feel of Fairhaven. The survival rate of newly planted smaller trees and the lack of oversight of their survival and the need for a solid plan for enforcement that we don't have in place. I'd also like to make one other change. When there was a discussion between the mayor and Councilman Cole, there was a mention of which process. There was this line that said one process is more inclusive than the other. It's listed as a statement, and I'd like it to be listed as the opinion coming from the mayor and not a statement of fact.
Oh,
Did someone second?
I did.
Do we need all in favor or we need an actual roll call?
Actual roll.
Christie, may I please have a roll call?
Council members Cole,
Yes.
Koch,
Yes.
DiMichelli,
Yes.
Hoey,
No.
La Barbera,
I wasn't here.
Olson.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay.
What's the no? Am I allowed to ask? What's the no?
She doesn't have to, accept- she doesn't have to.
Okay.
abstain.
I'll put it in.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes now as amended?
So moved. Second.
Christie, may I please have a roll call?
Council members Cole,
Yes.
DiMichelli,
Yes.
Well, hold on, Cole, you can't approve special meeting, right? Because you weren't here. It says in the minutes that you weren't
Oh,
here for the
I
special
thought we
meeting.
were, oh, excuse me, you're
This is
right.
all three,
Yeah, I can't.
just,
Can we separate them then? Because otherwise.
I wasn't here for all three, but I just read through them.
right,
I'll turn to
separate
No,
them.
Yeah, we should separate them.
So let's start with the October 20th special meeting.
Wasn't that
It's listed as the October 20th special meeting.
the?
PD,
The interviews? I didn't hear that. Were you late? Yeah, I was late. It was about,
Yeah, you were there.
but I.
Actually, Councilwoman Cole missed the first question on the first applicant.
Mhm.
So she could still approve. Is that Andrew? Someone comes late?
It's
Still
just that-
approve? All right, so let's just go back right into roll call.
But it says absent on the, like it's
So that would
counter,
need to be amended.
Oh,
it says she's absent for that meeting.
Can someone make a motion to,
I'll make a motion. to-
Second.
Christie, may I please have a roll call? That's to change, Councilman Cole from absent to present at the October 28th, 2024 special meeting.
Okay, council members Cole,
Yes.
DiMichelli,
Yes.
Hoey,
Yes.
Koch,
Yes.
La Barbera,
Stain was not here.
Olson.
Abstain.
Okay, now, going back to the approval on the October 28th special meeting, regular meeting and executive session. Do I have a motion to approve as amended?
Motion. Second.
Christie, may I please have a roll call?
Cole,
Yes.
DiMichelli,
Yes.
Hoey,
Yes.
Koch,
Yes.
La Barbera,
Stain was not here.
Olson.
Abstain.
Thank you. Moving along to hearing and adoption of ordinances 2024-17, amend Borough Code 14-8, tree preservation ordinance. Do I have a motion to open?
Motion to open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Is that carried for the executive session minutes as well?
Yes, that was all three, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, I'll start
Yeah.
us off. I have a couple things I would like to, a few items, just to, a list really to kind of check off. I think there's been some really good work on the part of the staff to probe and tack down some open questions that have really come from the council and public, so I'll just tick through them and see how we do. Can you please confirm that street trees are in fact protected, that the borough is the only entity that can remove permanent or otherwise?
Yes, after legal review, yes, the borough is the only applicant that can apply for removal of street trees. Street trees are borough property.
Thank you. Can you confirm the taxpayers are not in any way funding the process, except for what is normally considered part of an administrative function, but no reports will be paid for by taxpayers as we have had in the past?
Yeah, so the ordinance does say for large scale tree removal, that the LTE's report will be paid for by the applicant.
And for other instances
Then you have
where,
a $50 fee and then a $25 fee for the expert.
and her, the 20, those fees won't cover her hourly rate, but her, in that case, the applicant pays it. Wherever the LTE is required, her fee is
For
covered.
a
by the
report, for a
applicant, right?
report, correct, they have to pay the applicant.
A denial of an application can in fact occur. And can you give us an example of how that might play out? Although the language is not clear in that respect. Where do you see that?
Can you show me where you see that in the ordinance? What section?
That a denial can occur?
Yeah, which section do you see
It's
that?
not in writing, but in some of the discussions and the homework that's been done.
So what can happen is for the hazard tree, so if an applicant puts in for a hazard tree removal, the applicant can't determine whether or not the tree is hazardous. That's why the licensed tree expert has to come out and inspect the tree and do a report. The licensed tree expert may deem that that tree is not a hazard and therefore can deny it as a hazard tree removal.
So it can, the applicant can be denied and for a hazardous tree, in which case it's a healthy tree.
Correct, and they would have to go through the process for help.
And then that process kicks in with, well, you can plant trees or you can pay
Correct,
to not have to plant.
correct.
So a technical denial, but not a, okay,
A denial under the hazard tree, again, if the licensed tree expert determined that it was indeed a healthy tree, then it wouldn't be deemed a hazard tree, so they would not be able to have removal under the hazard tree provision of the ordinance.
They don't have pay.
So it get,
well, they could plant.
Yeah.
Or pay,
Correct.
right?
so it gets there in the affirmative rather than a denial. It says under 14-8.4, the last sentence, no tree shall be removed until municipal officials have reviewed and approved the tree removal application and issued an approved tree removal permit. So if the person does not have that, then they're in the penalty schedule. You know, or they violated the rule, violated the law.
I mean, they do it without it.
It'd be like, yeah, doing a project without a permit illegally.
Okay, that's a different scenario than what I was asking about. I wanted to know if but I think I got my answer, just so I get back to it. Could you please identify for us, who would administer the shade tree reserve fund? This is separate.
From the financial aspect,
Yes,
that's
correct.
been administered by our CFO.
And then staff, in terms of budgeting and use of those funds, who would actually budget against that?
Well, that's handled, all finances are handled through our CFO.
Okay. Did you want to speak on that, Nancy?
Only if you need me to.
If you want to expand on it a little bit, sure.
The trust fund is not a budget.
Okay,
So it would not be part of the budget funds.
that's important to
Would
know.
not be handled as a budget. That those funds would be separate and could only be spent for the reasons listed in the ordinance.
So maintenance and planting.
I can't answer that specifically.
I can, I read it. Yeah, that's
So
actually,
I can't,
yeah.
and
And-
give you that clarification,
Mhm.
but whatever is listed in the ordinance is what those funds can be spent.
At the direction of our administrative team with the council's
Well,
direction.
at the direction of the same way that any appropriation would be handled,
Mhm.
it would come to me. Does it fit the ordinance? Yes, it would come before the council as in the form of a bill list.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're all.
Well, the definition of trees, this goes back to some of the discussion earlier. And so this is when I was reading through it, a question. Perhaps this is a solution, but will the definition of trees, as it's written in this draft, serve as adequate clarification to avoid anyone from thinking they could substitute a shrub for a tree? And the definition of trees in the draft is, it is vague, but is it adequate? And that's really a question, I think, or who would be administering this probably, and our attorney.
Well, just for the record, I'll read the definition of a tree, just so it's clear. The ordinance presently, the proposed ordinance presently states, trees shall mean a woody perennial plant typically of having a single stem or trunk growing to a considerable height and bearing lateral branches at some distance from the ground.
Very broad, because there's a lot of different trees.
Well, I think that's where the rhododendron falls in,
So-
because that could be counted as a tree in that definition. I think that's where we go back to the shrubs.
So I'm just gonna flag that to say it's in need of further clarification. Excuse me, you guys, I have a frog in my throat. I know the definition of clear cutting, which in the current ordinance reads as, anything above 20% of the trees on the property is defined as clear cutting. And in this draft, we kind of only just do a tree count and call it large tree removal. And it seemed to permit what we would all kind of commonly known as clear cutting, provided that there's a replanting schedule or a check paid to the borough.
So just for the record, just so to clarify it,
Thank you.
large scale tree removal in the proposed ordinance states shall mean removal of greater than 5 trees per lot or a reduction of canopy greater than 20%.
Okay, so we have both qualifiers.
What's that?
You helped me understand we have both qualifiers.
Correct,
The
yes.
percentage as well as the number of
Correct,
trees.
yes.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, would have to be a pretty sizable property for 5 trees to
Less than
be
20%.
above, to be correct, yeah.
Yes,
So perhaps a rare instance, maybe in Fairhaven.
yes.
But I know, I'm not speaking for everyone, I know a smaller number would be more comfortable than 5 trees. There was considerable discussion around that, so I have identified that. Can we, this is perhaps for down the road, but can we find a tree removal business that does work in Fairhaven without proper registration with the borough? As we know, all the vendors have to register, and Betty Ann does a really good job. Every year she calls them and reminds them to send in their $25, and they have to register and provide certain certifications for the record, for their files. But if we have a vendor that's conducting business in Fairhaven, doing tree removal work or any work on trees that isn't registered, can we find them?
So there's a whole section for registering the business for
Yeah.
tree work. And there's a penalty provision for non-compliance.
Can you read that for us?
Failure to utilize a registered tree care business in good to register. Failure to utilize a registered tree care business in good standing or to provide the required documentation will result in penalties, including fines and potential prohibition from performing tree work within the borough of Fairhaven.
And what are those fines?
In section 14-8.12, there's violations and penalties. Any person who violates any provision of this section will be subject to mandatory court appearance and upon conviction for the municipal court, be sentenced in accordance with Schedule B here and below. With the violator having the option to pay a monetary fine and provide replacement trees under Schedule B1, or in the alternative, pay a double monetary fine under Schedule B2.
That sounds like the applicant. That doesn't sound like the vendor.
Any person defined in this ordinance is also including businesses, as well as the borough, as well as.
Well, the business isn't gonna plant a tree. They're here to work on
No,
trees.
it's any violation of this section of the ordinance.
Let's
So if
say
you violate any provision of the ordinance, you'd be subject to 14-8.12.
You mean the tree vendor who's here to work on someone's property without proper registration is gonna be fined to plant some trees?
Well, there's also a penalty schedule that doesn't require the tree replacement.
And what is that penalty?
There's like the schedule B.
I guess it's what we read it to me because I'm tracking a number of things simultaneously. It's easier.
I mean, it's a whole chart, so it depends on the size of the tree, it depends on what the circumstances are.
Well, as frustrating as it is, this is important. for
I understand, but we've had the same ordinance, what, you have it right here,
Kristen,
you have it right here.
would you mind reading the fine for the people who are in the room?
It's a schedule, it's not.
Just the first one.
I don't know how you want me to read it, it's a chart.
Mhm.
It ranges from $1,000 to $4,000.
Mhm. So if the vendor doesn't pay $25 to get properly registered, does tree worker, they could be fined for $1,000? Am I interpreting the vendor incorrectly?
Actually, no, because under 14-8.10, it says registered tree care business requirement.
Mhm.
It says requirement for tree work, all tree work conducted within the borough of Fairhaven must be performed by tree care businesses that are registered and in good standing with the state. So in accordance with the Tree Experts in Tree Care Operating Licensing Act, which is NJSA 4515C-11 NSAC. So they have to be registered in accordance with the state.
Yes,
So if they're not, so if it's a business that is not, again, in good standing and registered with the state, then they're in violation of a provision of this ordinance and then can be fined for Schedule B.
And I
Which
believe there's
is-
another part of the code that requires businesses such as this to register.
yes, that's true.
So the different sections of the code work in conjunction.
Okay, so then, are we clear about what the fine would be, what the penalty would be for a vendor who performs
So
work
every
without?
fine is clearly defined out in Schedule B. So I mean, we'll just do category 1. The fine can either be one replacement tree and a $500 fine or a penalty or $8,000 fine.
Okay. So again, that sounds like that's for an applicant, not
So,
necessarily.
but the thing is, with violation of penalties, it says any provision of the ordinance, so it doesn't say specific provisions of the ordinance, it actually says any provision of the ordinance, and section 14-8.10 is a provision of the ordinance, so even a violation, even though maybe it might not seem like a fair fine, however, it's still a violation of the ordinance, 14-8.10, that's what they're required to do.
Okay, so that's what I heard you both say, that if a vendor is performing work in this town without proper registration with the central office,
Their
they can
penalty
be
schedule.
subject to a penalty of
The
up to
schedule B and the penalty
$1,000.
schedule, the ordinance, and again, it says any provision of the use section.
Okay. And similar question, sorry, this might be annoying, but, if. if
For the record, Councilman Hall, I did not say annoying, I didn't use that word.
I don't think anyone said annoying, I just questioned, these questions could have been answered before the meeting. And, you
A
know-
lot of them were. A
Oh,
lot
so
of them
you
were.
You just want to on the record.
No, well, the first three were, was some things that the public cared about too, and those were how that got developed behind the scenes, but that doesn't really help the community understand. So this is in part also to get the record clear. So if a tree company performs work without, on a property or a tree rather, without the proper approved permit, the same penalty would apply, is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Are you done, Councilman?
Almost, sorry. The last thing, it came up today, actually, and I didn't get to do any homework on this, but I know that this government in particular has gone to lengths to prohibit some invasives, bamboo. I think Japanese knotweed. I think we should make sure that invasives that can propagate quickly and attract lanternfly and things like that do get added as I would prohibit it less rather than a not recommended, but,
Councilman Cole, just real quick, I just wanted to make one clarification, I'm sure legal would agree with me on that. That penalty schedule is obviously, pending adjudication. So that would not be, it's not an automatic penalty schedule, the summons would be issued, and we pending adjudication in court. I just want to make that clear for the record, that we're not just arbitrarily handing out fines with any process. Don't want any case law built into it, so.
that's a good clarification, and
So
I
that
think here Christine is saying.
any person in violation is afforded due process in accordance with the law.
Thank you. Those are my notes on this for now.
I just have one point. It seems that everyone keeps agreeing on the fact that shrubs shouldn't be in here, and at the Shade Tree Commission meeting, I believe Mr. Councilman Olson said that that's an easy change that could be done right now, so I'm not sure why we aren't taking that out, if that's a de minimis change. I'm not sure why we're still.
My reference is that the Shade Tree Commission owns that document, and if they want to change it on the website, there's a website in the.
But we said they don't own the documents, that's what we just figured out. It was not owned, Christie, the lawyer wrote they don't own it, that's what Bonnie was just saying. So it's on us to change it, because that's not what's linked to the website. The link to the website is different than this right now. So we're gonna put forward this document with an incomplete link.
So,
I thought the link doesn't go to that document though.
no, so the link that the Shade Tree Commission, the one that's in Appendix A that's
Mhm.
referenced, that has a list of all of these tree species.
Right.
That was regurgitated into Appendix A. The additional requirements that are required by the NJDP are the two remaining columns, the planting season and the planting procedures. So those were added, but the trees are the exact same as the Shade Tree Commission's website.
So I guess the point is though, if you're saying that you provided the B and C, or B, whatever, the second two columns. Are they required to recreate this on the website? If we're saying this list is going to be updated on the website, shouldn't this list be exactly the same thing as the website?
My recommendation is that once those two columns are incorporated in the website, then we can only reference the website and Appendix A can be.
Yeah.
Can be
But we
removed
are
by the
referencing this website, and if this goes through today, this is not accurate, the website is not accurate, and we're telling them, according to this document, that they have to refer to this website for the most up-to-date, and if
list of
that,
trees, which is what the website is. It's just a list of trees.
Recommended.
okay.
It says recommended tree, but it's not even for anything.
I still have an issue with the fact that we say approved list and then recommended trees, but it seems like they're conflicting, but I still don't know why we don't take the shrubs off. Take them off this list and they'll take them off that, and then let's just go with it. Oh, you don't have the list? I'm just to
What do you mean we
clarify,
don't have the list?
what do you mean you don't have the list? So what's on the website right now?
The list of these trees.
These trees.
Right.
She copied apparently the list from there.
Yeah, but that was never, there's never understanding that was going, that you were gonna take all those trees and put them on this list. I mean, you did that. we never, I mean.
I did that. It's
I'm
a
seeing
direction.
that, thank you. I mean, you did it, but, the document that you have that's on here, can you send that back to the Shade Tree Commission and put that on the website? Can we, I mean, it's just not on the website.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Once it gets adopted, we'll send it to you.
But in the adoption, can we take out shrubs?
That's not our decision, so
We have to make a motion.
Can we make, I'd like to make a motion to take out the shrubs.
it would be,
I would
I
second
think
that.
that should have been appendix to the ordinance.
yes.
I would second it if it clarifies it's trees, not shrub, which, because the definition of tree seems a little bit vague. But striking the shrubbery,
Can you be
On the
specific,
appendix,
can you be
you know.
specific on exactly what
Sure.
the motion you're making is? So we know.
Okay, so I'm making a motion to take out some of the small ornamental understory trees, like the rhododendron.
hold on one second.
I defer to the tree experts a little bit more, because I don't know which ones are shrubs.
Which one did you say?
Rhododendron.
I mean, only the top four could be considered shade.
Okay, so take out everything below, my motion is to take out everything below fringe tree. Geonaxis fringe tree.
Just keep first floor, right?
No, first floor, she said to
Keep.
keep, so.
Yes,
Right.
So from Hyde,
So
from
from-
Hydeberry, Bush, Blueberry through to Simon.
Oh, I see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay.
Are we 100% sure that those are all considered shrubs? And we're 100% sure that there's no, hang on, if I may finish, please? And we're 100% sure, so when I walk through the Third Street Trail and I see some of the shrubs that have been left there for 50 years untouched, they're just as big as trees. And we're unsure that we don't want to do the same. Bill, I'm looking at you, man. I'm not trying to be funny, sir. I'm just trying to ask the question, like, Bill, Mark Olson showed me, I'm not saying poison ivy is a tree, right? But he showed me a 25-year-old poison ivy. And the diameter of this thing had to be 13 inches. It was insane. So we're 100% sure that they don't have any environmental benefit, photosynthesis. Yeah, I'm posing my question specific.
Hold on one second, Councilman. And if you're gonna speak from the audience, please come to the table.
I'm requesting Bill Perkins to come on up as a licensed landscape architect. I'm just trying to be educated.
I mean, a sweet bay magnolia looks like a tree to me.
That, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm just like,
Bill Burke, just introduce yourself to the record.
Bill Perkins, Hands Grove, Bay.
thank you.
So yes, they do have environmental benefits. So yes, but a rhododendron in the horticultural classification would not be considered a tree. I mean, I have used taxus in my yard that are 25 feet tall and 30 feet in diameter. According to this, they would be considered a tree because they're big. No. Any shrub, if left to its own to nature, will grow to, the thing is usually shear them because they're foundation planting or whatever.
But is there a point, and again, I'm trying to educate myself. Is there a point though, as in which a shrub achieves a certain size where it has the benefits of a tree? You follow what I'm saying? Like
I would make the argument, though, is that what you want?
it would take
Did
a
you want
lot
to
of.
I'm not asking what I want. I'm asking
No, no,
what
no.
the data says about what, like, is there?
Can I give him an actual instance?
Yeah.
A Virginia, Magnolia virginiana. I go and look,
Yes.
sorry. Says that it's native to New Jersey and it looks like a tree to me. So it
It's a
is.
small tree, yes.
But it's considered a shrub.
But it isn't
No.
upright with lateral branching, nor does that really provide the shade, and just for common.
Rhododendron can be considered a small to rarely large tree.
So a shade tree is kind of something very clear and all mod, and I'll leave it to you.
So getting back to the point, this is what I had mentioned at the Shade Tree Commission. So on a broader note then, do you really want a dogwood to replace 4 dogwoods, to replace a 150-year-old oak tree? Is that what we want? Because the life expectancy of a
I
dogwood
got it.
is not gonna be.
So it's
So,
not,
yeah,
it's not necessarily shrub to tree, it's necessarily tree to shrub. Okay, I'm good,
They can,
I'm good. That's what I mean.
Okay, just to clarify, Bill, though, you would say all the ones below? Is that accurate?
yes, I mean, sassafras can be considered a tree, is it ever gonna be?
They don't have to recommend.
And that's what we're looking to do, we're looking to replace shade trees. I thought the intent was to replace shade trees.
If it's-
about 30-inch caliber
Check,
tree,
we got it.
with a tree that could live to be big
If
enough
it's
to
de
be able to
minimis.
come there.
Mhm.
It's de minimis, great.
And Bill, one other note, just remember, for the fund that we get to choose what trees we put in the ground. So if the applicant doesn't choose to put trees in the ground themselves, and we take the funds in,
Yes.
the borough, I'm assuming with the help of the Shade Tree Commission, gets to choose what types of trees we're planting around the borough, which is a good thing.
Okay.
So,
So I'm gonna make the motion again
Yeah.
to take out in the appendix, the small ornamental understory, take out anything starting from Vicinius or Resposum down to, I'm gonna say persimmon.
I'll second.
just before roll call, this is what was presented as de minimis.
Yes.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jen.
Allison, Christie, may I please have a roll call? May I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Cole,
Yes.
DiMichelli,
Yes.
Hoey,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
La Barbera,
Yes,
Olson.
Yes.
thanks, Bill.
Does anyone else here have anything?
Oh, sorry, did you have some? I have a motion to, table this so that those members of the council are going to be voting on this have a chance to get to the Shade Tree Commission meeting prior to adoption. That would, obviously, some people got to go and some people didn't. I think the next Shade Tree Commission meeting is the first Wednesday, December 4th, which still leaves us time to, on the schedule to adopt this before the end of the year. So I'd like to make a motion to.
Is there a second?
Motion to, I'm sorry.
She's making a motion to carry this until what date?
Until the meeting in December after the Shade
December
Tree Commission,
16th.
unless the Shade Tree Commission has a special meeting or something, but I haven't asked them about.
So I would second that. As long with the, what is it, what's the word, is this again?
Yeah.
The caveat that we can actually have a discussion though.
So
So there would be
I don't
no changes
I
that
know,
are
so that's,
any sort of substantial value that would be able to be made, because then that would just make it, then we'd have to reintroduce
yes.
the ordinance with these substantial changes and then go to the public hearing like we're at now. So
We're just gonna keep going in circles.
either way, you have to go back to the first reading.
Hmm.
Do we have a second?
I mean, obviously I'd love to redo it, but I don't think there's a.
Does anyone else have anything up here? Because I just, anyone in the public? Again, because we are still, within the, hearing and adoption.
yes.
Hearing part, yes. Bill?
The person's answer if they're hidden. So I just, once again, wanted to state my concern that we are creating this document that's a new ordinance. We've been made aware that there are some conflicts, contradictions, lack of clarity, or confusion. And I'm not sure why we didn't correct these issues. Being in favor or against the ordinance is really irrelevant. My issue is that the conflicts, the corrections should be made. The belief that because this new ordinance has been discussed and contemplated for years, that a flawed or incorrect document should be put forward and passed into law is actually quite flawed in and of itself. As I've said before, time does not equate to good work product. Ignoring mistakes doesn't negate their existence and just reflects poorly on those who choose to ignore them. So I am just asking that everyone does the right thing and makes the corrections. And yes, this may add weeks to the process, but it's the right and rational thing to do.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, Brandon, please.
All right, Ruth Blazer,
Hi, Ruth.
Hello. I just want to mention a few things. In front of the Borough Hall, there are two lovely, lovely crepe myrtle trees. And the only reason they're trees is because without being pruned, they would be shrubs. So you've got an example there similar to the rhododendron. In fact, I think I know of a rhododendron that I could put in as an example. However, that being said, it simply depends on the pruning, whether something is a shrub or a tree and whether it's allowed to grow. My other objection, in my opinion, is that the borough is overreaching into people's private property rights. And I just think the whole tree ordinance should be erased. People pay their taxes, they own their property, they should be able to do what they want with it. If I want to take a tree down and I can get a couple brother-in-laws and sons to come over and cut that tree down, none of them are licensed. And they should be able to do it. My third objection is the word aesthetic. Aesthetic in any ordinance should be stricken because aesthetic means somebody else is making a judgment. The only aesthetic that has to do with my property is my aesthetics. I want it to look the way I want it to look. If it is detrimental when it comes time to sell the property, I'll probably take a loss on it. But the people who move in will also have the right to put in whatever they want. And the borough should just stay the heck out of it. You've got enough to do. You've got infrastructure problems that you're not dealing with. And just stay out of it. You're ordinancing us up to the kazoo. And I'm sure there are other people in town that agree with me. So back off and just back off.
Thank you, Ruth. Christie, is there anyone else?
Yes, there is. Chris Hempstead.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, I just want to, again, thank the council and everyone involved for the hard work you're doing on the ordinance. It's a tremendous effort, and listening through it, perspective of how hard it is to get it right. But I just want to, from the outside looking in, you're so close. You've got great effort, and you've got great input from experts, from the public, and from the. I think you've got plenty of time to just get it right. So, tabling it and just trying to get it a little bit more perfect or a little bit more, adaptable to what we're looking for. I think it's worthy and complements all the efforts you've already made. You're so close. It'd be a shame to push it through with some small imperfections that clearly, can be discussed and fixed, even if it has to be reintroduced. It's not the end of the world. I think it's going to be introduced as a better ordinance. And for the record, I don't necessarily disagree with Ruth. I think, people own the property should do what they want, but I also yield to the fact that, we live in a beautiful community and, people do like the trees, and, I'll leave it at that. But again, I would ask the council to just take the input from the experts and from the public and, get back to work on it. You're so close. You've done a lot of work. Don't push it through. If it's not right, get it right. You're at the goal line. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Christie, is there anyone else?
No.
I have, one item, Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
I just have to offer a little bit of background. I happen to think we can adopt an ordinance that lets people do what they want to do on the property for their own reasons and still obviously maintain a canopy for the community's rights and property rights can coexist. I have great concerns about the business district, which is really, if you looked at the heat map, it's kind of like a free desert. Once trees are gone from there, it's very hard to get them back in. I know that our land use boards, our planning and our zoning board and our borough engineer and other professionals work to make sure that those privacy borders are put in, that street trees go in every time there's an application. That's a thoughtful part of what goes in to making sure those components are part of a site plan approval or various applications. So to that end, and I'm hoping this might be considered something de minimis, attorneys, I'd like to recommend or make an amendment, propose an amendment. I make a motion to amend the ordinance to include language that would essentially protect those decisions made by our board. So consider this quote unquote landscaping, including trees required by the Borough Planning Board, Zoning Board, Borough Council, Borough officials, or required by other provisions of our code or municipal and state regulations. Shall not be something, I'll leave that to the attorneys, whether this is a prohibition or a protection or an exemption. But if we had that language in there, it would be clear that say a privacy buffer that's required by a planning board cannot be paid for to not exist. In other words, the applicant can't just file an application and write a check and have it removed.
So that's substantive.
It's substantive.
Yeah, and let's leave that.
So I mean, I'll just say,
Whenever you use the word shall,
uh-huh,
it's gonna be a substantive change.
okay. So then I would just, you know, for those of us who are in the room or participating via Zoom, and to my fellow council people who I respect immensely, the Shade Tree Commission, who I met, I mean, Brian, you've been in this seat for 7 months. I did it for 18, and I know it's hard. But there's too much yet to be done. It remains incomplete. And like a marathon, I know we're all exhausted, but if we're in mile 25, that's not when you sit down and take your sneakers off and say, I'll just call it a day. We finish it, we follow through, and we do it the right way. So that's my position.
I'm just gonna say one last thing. Are you done? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm finished.
So I agree, and I appreciate all the work that went in. I know it was 7 years, but I'm not sure that 7 years of work and then a couple months. Like, it seems like it's a little quick turnaround for an ordinance that did take people 7 years to go through. So what I do want to understand, and I'm not sure if this is the right forum, but is it a priority of ours moving forward to look at other ordinances to make changes to fit in with this idea of property rights? Is that the intention of this governing body?
I don't know that that's specific to the discussion that we're having right now on the tree ordinance, if you want to have that discussion.
But if that's what, but just to
Yeah.
frame.
I think
like,
that's
that
more of a
is-
good of the borough
Okay.
conversation. You want to bring that up then? Is anyone else up here on the tree ordinance? Is there anyone in the public? Christie, still no hands?
No,
All right, do I have a motion to close, the hearing? So,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Do I have a motion to approve, the tree ordinance 2024-17 with the one de minimis change that was made, earlier? Motion. Christie, may I please have a roll call?
council members Cole,
No.
Kelly,
No.
Hoey,
Yes.
Koch,
Yes.
La Barbera,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. Moving along, 2024-18, established Borough Code 2-28, creating a Fairhaven First Aid Squad Cadet Program. Do I have a motion to open?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Does anyone up here have anything on this?
Who was the young person again that briefed us?
Anna Anthony.
No,
No, Overguard?
Yeah.
She
was already-
So that was 2 meetings ago and we're already, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I just want, again, hats off to that
I think
presentation.
there would have been, well, I think there was just one change last time.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, but this all stemmed from her presentation,
Yeah.
right? And everything she wants to do?
Mhm.
Awesome. Kudos again. I love it.
Anyone in the public with anything on this? No? Christie, anyone online?
No,
Okay, do I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Do I have a motion to approve as presented? So moved.
Second.
Christie, may I please have a roll call?
Council members Cole,
Yes.
Michelli,
Yes.
Hoey,
Yes.
Koch,
Yes.
La Barbera,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. New business consent agenda, resolutions 2024-252 through 258. Before I ask for motion, does anyone want anything separated on here?
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
And I should have clarified with you prior to the meeting. But the police department radio system and radios. Did we receive radios from the county? Is there?
That was for the
Yes,
fire
so,
department. Fire department.
Yeah, the fire department, gave the county, gave the fire department 15 radios. Their surplus. The police department did inquire if there were radios available for the police department. And then the sheriff, Bob Dawson from Montana Sheriff's Office said there were no radios available. And we did have that on the record.
But the fire department radios are,
Yes, they're part of the new,
they're part of the new
the
system.
new county truck system,
Right,
correct?
and that was the system that Chief McGovern presented to us.
Correct, yes.
Okay,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anything else on this? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Christie, may I please have a roll call?
Council members Cole,
yes.
Michelli,
Yes.
Hoey,
Yes.
Koch,
Yes.
La Barbera,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. Department reports, October 2024, municipal clerk dog license budget status. Do I have a motion to accept the reports as submitted, possibly with a thank you?
Motion with thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. We are now at the go to the borough portion of the meeting. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Please observe a time limit of 3 minutes. Yeah,
Sure. I mean, I'm gonna ask my question again. Is that a priority of ours is that kind of a framework we're looking at as we look at our decisions moving forward? And are we going back to reexamine
So the
zoning
mayor,
ordinances?
I answer, from my perspective, the mayor asked us for our priorities. It's not something I put on the list and I didn't see on the list.
It wouldn't be my priority.
I would agree with.
Okay,
this answer.
just wanna make sure.
Anyone else go to the borough? Sure.
Hi, Pam Ferguson, Summit Colonial Court. I am the chair of the Fairhaven Fields Natural Area Advisory Committee. We're having a volunteer weekend this weekend, Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 1. The DPW will be out there working with us. And we encourage as many people as could come and help us and work to help keep the natural area beautiful.
That's rain or shine?
It is.
Can I make a recommendation that
That's all right.
if everyone's all right with it, that maybe we try something new? And you said Saturday is the first
Saturday
one?
and Sunday.
Maybe at like 8 AM on Saturday, can we blast something out? Maybe there's people sitting around looking for something to do and.
Absolutely.
Get them, is that all right with you?
Lovely.
Everyone's good with that?
Carolyn, can you email me all that information so I can have
Yeah,
it?
actually Betty Ann's been
Yeah, it's
promoting
on
it.
the,
Perfect.
it's on the buzzer.
Yeah.
10 to 1 Saturday and Sunday.
10 to 1,
Wait,
perfect. So
don't
I'll
have to say.
Betty and send it out at 8 o'clock on Saturday.
That's great. Thank you.
You got it. Anyone else?
Yes,
Go to the bar.
Definitely. So we had a nice meeting with the business district, last week. Is it last week, this week, last week?
Last week, yeah.
I'm excited to really make a priority of the business district and to help them grow and to bring in new business. But one note is that we did just put their logo and information right on the front page. So if anyone's looking for business information, that's one good step, and we'll make some more, so.
Go to the borough? Anyone else?
I just wanted to forecast something for the next meeting. We'll be talking about, Jake's Law, inclusive playground grant that the rec committee would like to put forward. So we're gonna go through the details. Rich is working on a site plan right now as we speak, and there's a couple of things that we just want to walk through and put on everyone's radar, but some more to come, just forecasting that for the next meeting. And then a follow-up to the project that we talked about with Knollwood. Betsy and I had a great conversation again with Pam Greenhall. We're actually gonna involve the entire 8th grade now, not just the student council. And since they have 6 sections in the 8th grade, each council person will be assigned to a section, and you'll have that section to kind of work on the situation or the problem with. So more to come.
Great. Anyone else? Anyone in the public? Yes, Marty.
Marty Ecker, 33 Next Road, just a thank you to everybody for the wonderful
Veterans Memorial Ceremony yesterday in the park. I thought it was really well attended, and it was a beautiful ceremony. And I thank the council and everybody involved for doing that.
So I bet you're thankful that they chose Sienna Kay to sing the national anthem and not the mayor. That was some unbelievable rendition, right? Anyone else? No? Christie, anyone online?
Yep. Ruth Blazer?
Hi, Ruth.
Can I have an update on the gray boxes?
Some streetlights.
You have an update? Chris?
Yes, so we talked engineering last week. Rich can probably fill a little bit on there. They are on their way. We're just dealing with supply chain problems, but as soon as they arrive, I would assume at this point, they should be about 4 weeks out. Unfortunately, we can't control, but the order is long in place. So we're just dealing with supply chain and the vendor, and as soon as we have them, will be installed. Rich, do you have any additional to add, or did I cover all bases?
Contractors ready as soon as they come in, get them delivered, we have them installed.
That's the last piece, correct, of the whole project?
Ruth, so.
Well,
Yeah.
I've been keeping track of the one across the street from me, and they are on some kind of a schedule because they work during the week, and on Saturdays and Sundays, they don't work at night. So they're on some kind of a system.
Is that a question?
Yes, look at it.
Should you ask a question or no?
Well, I think maybe just look at if there is a schedule, because it might be like a weekday, weekend thing.
I did notice the Acme parking lot wasn't on over the weekend too.
Oh.
Yeah, it was dark when I went up there too, so.
Ruth, we're gonna look
It's
into it.
actually a kindness.
Yeah,
In a way.
no, but like,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Hempstead?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, guys. Hey, everyone. Again, I just want to say thank you to the council for your hard work and just, and the consideration that you put into things. Look, I mean, I try to come out as much as I can and, lend a comment here or there or an opinion. I'll meet in the middle most of the times, even if it doesn't go my way, but I just wanted to say thank you and, keep at it, keep up the good work. I did want to ask a question about, recycling and garbage pickup. And I may have missed a meeting on this, but has there been any public feedback on potentially increasing the number of either recycling and or garbage pickups in the new regime that we have, or schedule? I shouldn't call it a regime, but I know we've reduced it a little bit. And I've heard some people maybe make comments or complaints that they just can't keep up. Has there been any thoughts or comments amongst the council about potentially going back to a schedule that is a little bit more or somewhere in between where we are and where we were?
Well, the trash schedule hasn't changed at all. There's
Okay.
no difference whatsoever in the trash schedule. That's identical to what it was before.
Yeah.
I don't know what's.
different day.
Yeah.
There.
It's all in one day.
It's
It's all in one day,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the amount of pickups
It's
though
the
in
same.
I think
town
you
is
just, yeah.
exactly the same.
Yes.
So it's just
for-
recycling?
Yeah, it's just recycling. So recycling went from weekly to bi-weekly. Our recycling center, do we have an update on when that's gonna be open?
Temporarily opened.
No, but the permanent one. When's
Right now it's
that?
just cardboard.
Site,
Yeah,
yeah.
isn't that gonna be more than cardboard or no?
Yeah,
That's what I
cardboard,
mean.
it'll be
So
everything.
right
Oh,
now it's just cardboard.
Right now, it's just cardboard.
So
yeah.
when is the full?
February, March?
Yeah, as soon as the DPW site work is done, we're looking probably by the latest March, we'll have the entire recycling center complete.
Yeah, that's bottles, cans, the whole nine.
Yeah, so
Oh,
Chris,
great.
maybe that's helpful, right now, you can really only drop off your garbage at the DPW. Once we.
Recycling.
I'm sorry, cardboard, yeah, what did I say?
Garbage.
Don't,
You know what?
not dump your garbage.
Thank you.
Hold on that.
But in a few months, you're gonna be able to, dump the rest of the recycling materials there, which should help alleviate some of the issues that people may be having. As far as, making a change, I mean, we are in a contract for 3 years. We're hopeful that we get some state cap appropriation relief. Through through some of the state politicians. We hope that they're helpful in that. And if they are, certainly I think at that point, we would probably explore what positive impacts we can make in services for our residents.
Can I add a couple just more data points, Mayor?
Sure.
Just, Chris, just a couple more data points, right? Went to Tuesday to streamline how many times cans are on the street, right? From a safety perspective and alignment with other pickups. And then just to give the numbers, right? The recycling, the overall garbage contract went up 50%, even with reducing recycling to bi-weekly, and we have that 3.5% cap. Right, so we're limited to increase our budget 3.5%. It went up 50%, so that was one of the reasons why. And then at the DPW site, we actually increased the site of the recycling center there. So in all of the open houses that we had, residents gave us a tremendous amount of feedback on the number of boxes now that are delivered, right? Especially in a post-COVID era. So I forget the size of the pad, but we've increased significantly the size of the recycling center, as well as added enforcement cameras so that people aren't doing night dumps. But nonetheless, those are just a few more data points. If you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out.
No, that's great. No, I wasn't aware how close that was. So that's great to hear because look, I mean, granted, we're a little more capable. I mean, going to the recycling center to, if we do have access is easy enough to do. We're used to doing it. I've been in town 25 years. So having that reopened is, yeah, that's for me more than adequate. I know some people want it picked up, but yeah, I mean, at least I can speak for my household. We'll be fine if we have access, sending the drivable kids over to the recycling center to do their chores. So thank you. Thank you. Great to hear.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Christie, is anyone else?
No.
All right, that being said, we're gonna move towards adjournment at 8:34 PM. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good night, Carrie.
What day is that? The student council.
Oh, it's in March, it's the March meeting.
Oh, so we're gonna,
So instead of us having a meeting at their meeting, they're gonna work on projects and present.
So no one is gonna be sitting with us separately.
Yeah, they'll sit with